In 2017, I went through this phase. It was probably 2 or 3 weeks where I would take a picture of myself every morning before I got dressed, so no shirt on or whatever, to sort of mark the way I looked. And also, I was trying to lose weight, exercise, and stuff. I wish there were a better phrase than struggled with my weight. I don't know if I like it. Something about it just doesn't feel right. But I have weighed more than I wanted to for the better part of my adult life. I've had these periods of time when I've lost large amounts of weight. The most recent being in 2012. Was that 7 years ago? And that was the most dramatic. I worked for an Amazon fulfillment center. So I worked in one of those warehouses where people pick things that you buy on Amazon. And I worked there for, I don't think it was quite a year. Maybe it was a year and a month. Anyway, I lost like 60 or 70 pounds because I walked something like 10 to 12 miles a night. I worked third shift. That was fun. I tucked shirts in, and I wore clothes that I cared more about. I wouldn't say I cared more, but I bought clothes that fit. And it was what's interesting to me is I wear clothes now that fit. I hear myself say that everything I wear now fits. It just fits over a different shaped body. Anyway, I digress. I was looking at those pictures from 2017 today, and I took another one yesterday morning, sort of from the side, without a shirt on, and my belly. There's no better way to say it than belly. My stomach, my omentum, I think it's called. I remember that from Dr. Oz. Looked bigger than in 2017, I think. I think I've gained weight, and it hit me really hard. I'm telling you that because some of you, I'm certain, look at yourselves and don't like what you see in the same way that I do sometimes. There are lots of voices telling us either how to change that or to love what we see. And I wonder if in some ways it's possible to do both. I am more than how much I weigh. So are you. But it's also okay to think that maybe, just maybe, I could take a day or two off from fast food. Or maybe, just maybe, I don't need to eat cookies all weekend long. Maybe we can do both. I don't know. It's not for me to tell you what you can or can't do or should or shouldn't do as it pertains to how much you weigh or how you look. I think you look great. But if in fact you don't like what you see when you take a picture or look in the mirror, I get it. And I want you to know that there's so much more to you than how clothes feel when you put them on. That's the absolute truth. It's absolutely true. You are so much more than how much you weigh. And I am too. Oh, and my name is Steven. And this is Get Tucked. I Don't Trust This Man podcast. I had lunch with a coworker today. We were talking about Jesus. It was great. I love talking about faith, even though I am so different from what I used to be, and I think so differently from how I used to think, particularly as a young man, a college student, or pre-college student. I don't go to church right now. Let me just tell you the truth. I don't go to church. But I love talking about God and the things of God. I love talking about all the ways we miss the mark sometimes. And I love thinking about and talking about Jesus. And that's what I'm thinking about now. Is I mentioned, I think, how taken I am with the idea of Jesus. I don't mean to say that I wish I could believe, but I can't, but I'm taken with the idea. I don't mean that. What I mean to say is I find Jesus to be so deeply engaging. This is how I said it earlier today. I said, even, because I've said this to people in my family, we've had these long sort of meandering conversations about faith, which I love. This is how I said it to my son. I think it was my son. I said, even if Jesus were made up, Whoever had the idea to make up the things that became what Jesus said, I'm so taken with that, with what became him, quote unquote, that I would follow that. I'm going to follow Jesus even if someone proved to me that Jesus really wasn't Jesus, because the things Jesus taught feel so right to me. Put much more simply and less sort of oddly mystically weird, I feel like Peter. Peter said to Jesus at one point, I think Jesus said, "Are you going to abandon me too?" And Peter said, "Where are we going to go?" That's kind of how I feel. All the years of ups and downs in ministry. I used to be a pastor. And frustrations with God because of pain my loved ones have experienced, or because of promises I thought God made me that haven't come true, or maybe I just made it up. Whatever I've been through and wherever I've kind of ping-ponged around theologically, I've always ended up kind of with Jesus, because where else? I have nowhere else to go, and I don't really want to. We were talking today about how when Jesus came across what the church today would call sinners, he didn't really talk about their sin. He didn't highlight it. He didn't use it as a starting point for some treatise on salvation. We were talking about the woman at the well. It's a story in one of the Gospels. I'm sure of it. It has to be. I just can't remember which one. Maybe John. Maybe John. Because isn't John the I am gospel? Living water. Anyway, Jesus meets a woman at a well, and they start talking, and he talks about living water, and she's like, "You don't even have a bucket," whatever. There comes a moment when the lady talks about her sort of marital situation, her relational situation, and Jesus says, "The guy you're with isn't even your husband. You've been married 4 or 5 times, and the guy you're with isn't even your husband." And then he just stopped. He was sort of stating it as fact, right? I think that's fascinating. He didn't then say, "It's clear that you've got some issue with commitment, or you've sinned in your divorces, and let me make you whole and go make it right." He just said, "Yeah, what you're saying is true. In fact, the person you're with now isn't even your husband." Okay. I love that. We love to talk about all the things that are wrong with people. Jesus loved to talk about how he felt about the people he encountered. You remember there's this story in Matthew. It's right after the Beatitudes. A leper cries out. And I think the leper says, "If you're willing, you can make me clean." And Jesus just says, "I'm willing. Be clean." And I love everything about that. I find Jesus to be so attractive. And yes, there are times when Jesus is repellent. I was going to say, I guess repulsive. But I didn't mean to say the things he says seem to create distance between himself and everybody else. The hard sayings of Jesus, they're often called. I get that. But when I think about Jesus, I think about the fact that he sees, this is what I believe. Jesus sees through me to the very core of who I am. And I believe, in spite of my weight, in spite of my mistakes, in spite of my confusion sometimes, in spite of my petulance, he looks through to the very core of who I am, and he says, "It is good, and you are mine." And so today, if I may be so bold, I would invite you to believe that there is a man, a God. There is a Savior. There is this Jesus. And he sees you, all of who you are. And he says, "It is good, and I want you. I love you." So, Psalm 20. The Lord answer you in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your victory, and in the name of our God set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Now I know that the Lord will help his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with mighty victories by his right hand. Some take pride in chariots and some in horses, but our pride is in the name of the Lord our God. They will collapse and fall, but we shall rise and stand upright. Give victory to the King, O Lord. Answer us when we call. Tonight I would pray that you would know that you are more than how you look. You are more than how much you weigh. You are more than the opinion of others. You are more than your opinion of yourself. I pray that you would know that when Jesus sees you, he sees good. And I pray that you would have peaceful rest and sweet dreams.